I was on mute. Can you hear me now?
Hey, Jerry, can you hear me?
Yep, just fine. There's someone else in the waiting room that I asked to identify themselves. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I don't know.
So now I have to see if I can make you a, if this doesn't work, I'll just do it on my other computer, but I can't. Oh, here we go. Make host. I just made you the host, which means I am now nothing and you are all powerful.
Whatever that means. So I just need to change my microphone setting. It's echoing around the room. I got to change it to not listen.
And I think I need to go turn Bluetooth off because I have you coming into my hearing aid, and if I'm on my other meeting, I won't be able to hear them with our meeting going on.
Yeah, it's not all listens. I don't know why it's doing that.
I don't know. I can hear you just fine.
I know why. Try this.
Sorry, my MacBook here to join the other meeting with a different ID. Right. And also what I'll do is I'll on the meeting we're on, Rich, I will mute my mic and I will stop the video, but I'll still be here in case anything happens. You can text me or chat at me. Text is probably best.
Okay. Is the mic working now?
Yeah, I heard you before.
Yeah, I'm hearing myself. So,
oh, yeah.
I can hear you, but then when I talk, I hear me too. So I just have to. Does it sound like I'd have an echo?
A tiny bit.
Yeah.
Not a ton.
Well, I'll work on that. We got a little bit of time, so.
Yeah. So, if you, what are you logged in on? What type of device are you logged in? Is it a PC?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So you should, if you click on participants, you should be able to see me, and also you should see the waiting room.
Right. If I don't know who they are, like it says Chrome 327F.
Exactly. That's the one. And I sent a message because you can go into chat and you can send a chat to everyone in the waiting room.
Right.
And I sent a chat saying, please identify yourself.
Yeah.
And nothing back.
Well, we'll leave them there for a while.
Yep.
So.
I bought the chat. Yeah, I just said, please identify yourself. You know, on the iPad, I cannot have the participants list and the chat window up at the same time. This is the first time I'm actually using this from my iPad.
Good video.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, now I have gallery view. Maybe I can do it here. No, it won't let me do both. There's all kinds of cool icons that I can do here that I can't on my Mac. I wonder if he's still there because let's see. Apparently, I can reclaim back being the host. But basically, you can do everything. You can allow people in or out. You can mute people. It's kind of funky. If you give people the ability to mute themselves or unmute themselves, then you can't mute them. But you know, it's pretty straightforward. If too many people are talking, you just say, "Hey, please mute yourself if you're not talking."
You can still mute yourself, right?
Yes. Which I just did. Some of the meetings I've been in, when people are supposed to talk as a group and then they're supposed to be silent and they forget to mute themselves. And they keep yakking or the dog's there or something.
Yeah. Let me work on this audio, see if I can figure this out. And
yeah, there's definitely a echo chamber there. It's not the worst I've ever heard, but it's there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe it's picking up two microphones because there's a microphone on the camera, but I'm using another microphone. Let me unplug one.
Or the gain is too high. Can't hear you now. Oh, I realized I can't see the waiting room anymore because I'm not a host. And I should have made you a co-host. I can't hear your audio. Now I can hear you.
Yeah, you should be able to hear me now.
I can. It's much worse than before.
I know the speed. She's not using a different microphone because the microphone's way over there. But yeah, let me go back. Microphone. Do.
And I could actually drop in the meeting and you could do it all, but like I say, I'll stay here without video and audio turned on just in case.
Have to yell help or something.
Yeah. Yeah, the main thing you're gonna have to see is to let people in from the waiting room.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, much lower volume.
About now?
A bit better.
Some movement around.
It's funny, it's an invisible mic because of your background.
The invisible microphone.
There you go. That was good.
Yeah. So turn off listen, apply. How's this?
Well, you were right in the mic. Talk again?
How's this? Pretty good?
Yeah, that's pretty okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there were two microphones on and that never works.
Yeah, you can even cut the gain back a little bit. It's loud.
When I yell, everybody quit talking at the same time, want to be able to hear me.
Well, this is true.
Levels. And actually, if we're going to do this much longer, I'm buying myself a USB microphone. Because this camera is a wide angle camera. And if I put it back, like if I put it on top of the monitor, I look about, my head's like 1/4 of an inch high.
Oh.
And, but then it makes the microphone be that far away too. So it's really hard to hear. So. Yeah, so Chromebook's still there. So where did you chat? Where you just hit the chat button on the bottom?
So, yeah, they hit the chat button and then you select. I chatted to everyone in the waiting room.
Right.
But I don't know if there's an option to chat directly just to that person. And you can chat to him and say, second request, please identify yourself.
Yeah. And they may not know how to do it.
Yeah, some people have trouble chatting back.
Yeah.
Especially if they're on a phone, for example.
Yeah. So do you have many Zoom meetings at night? So you work like what, 90 hours a week or something?
No, actually, I've been doing a lot of volunteering at my synagogue, including tech support. And I'm the one who got everyone moved to the Zoom platform and took care of all of that. So we're now starting to get ready for the high holidays. And so that's ramped up. I serve many roles. I head what we call Religious Life Committee. I'm the VP of Education and Youth Engagement. I'm on the Security Committee and lots of other stuff. And normally it's not a big deal. It's, there's sort of seasonal and at different times, so it's not a big deal. but now everything's coming together at once. So it's,
So is there a synagogue in Newark?
there is, but I go to synagogue in Wilmington.
Oh,
So there is Judaism has multiple branches, just like Catholicism or Christianity does. So the branch of Judaism in the synagogue in Newark is called Reconstructionism. I belong to a conservative synagogue, which is actually not right wing; it's very left wing. The traditional Jewish branch is the Orthodox, and in the 1800s, in response to that, the Reform movement began mostly in Germany, which was way off to the other side. And then the conservative camp started, and they're in the middle.
right.
And then the Reconstructionists started like in the 1960s.
Then you go to New York, and there's all kinds of different sects, I guess.
Well, yeah, you have the Hasidim there as well, the ultra we're called ultra Orthodox, and there's many branches of them.
I used to see it. My daughter lived in Manhattan, and they had like these big fur hats on, and they
Yep,
dressed
Yep, in black
Yeah.
coats.
black coats. The women were dressed real plain, long dresses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are called Hasidim, and they're like mid 18th century started that, and they tend to wear. That was the common style of dress back then in Eastern Europe. So that's carried on, and yeah, the women wear, ankle or mid between knee and ankle skirts, and they wear their head covered or with wigs. It's very modest.
Yeah, it's kind of Amish,
Yeah, in some regards, yes.
but maybe a couple steps back. So so on mine it says RD host. Isn't there somewhere I can go in here and put my call sign or something?
Yes, you can. If you can change it. Again, I'm working from my iPad, which I haven't before, so I'm not sure where to do that. But I'm trying to remember. I mean, as a host, you can even change other people's names. Let's see if I can figure it out here. Yeah, on the Mac, not so much, it seems. I mean, on the iPad.
Yeah, I see Alan's here.
Yeah, I can't see the waiting room now. Unless you could actually, what you should do is see if you could make me a co-host.
How do I
Yeah.
do that?
Just, on the list of users, click on my name, and
It
then
says
there'll be
more.
there'll be ... more.
Yeah. Make co-host.
That's it.
There you go. Yes, I want to make Jerry a co-host.
Yes. And now it started recording. We're recording the meeting.
Right. So here I go. I can rename myself.
Yeah, that's it.
I just clicked to let Alan in, so he ought to be here.
Yep. I see Alan is here, or at least his Zoom is here.
Yeah. Nice bench.
Yeah.
Looks like mine most of the time. I have to finish one project and then scrape everything else and start again. And actually, I was going to send you an email because with the pointers you gave me on FT8 and a little luck, actually yesterday with 4 watts, I worked Slovenia, Italy, and somewhere else in Europe.
It is a way cool mode.
And when you're running 4 watts, it keeps you busy because you have to keep moving your transmitting your frequency. If you're running 50 or 60 watts, you can kind of sit there and make some shoulder room. But when you're running 4 watts, you have to keep moving things around to keep your signals in the right spot. But it seems to work. Well, then you have to be in the shack at the right time of the day too, when the when the propagation's good for you. Hey, Alan, you hear us?
Hi, Alan. You're on mute, Alan. I mean, I can unmute you if you want, but
I got a
There you go.
microphone.
I'll let you do the work.
Dave, I was gonna do the same thing you did.
What's
I'm
that?
Rich. Sorry. The background, I was playing around with trying to do the background the same way.
Yeah.
Awesome job.
Yeah.
So as I told Rich, I will remain on the Zoom meeting, but I'm going to mute and turn my video off. And if anything urgent comes up that he can't do himself, he can text me.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
Okay.
It's a busy night, though. I'm gonna tell you right now. We met last week and on the preliminary, so we really gonna have to hammer this one out tonight because we can't wait till June.
Did you see the note I sent out?
Yes, I did. It was very interesting. Class D, huh?
So theoretically, we could all operate as Class D, still get all the points, and just
Yeah.
make sure we note that we're part of FSARC when we submit our logs.
Yep.
And can't get simpler than that.
Yeah, somebody had posted that they had, about 2 weeks ago, somebody had posted they sent something to the ARRL and said, look, just let everybody be a B. And,
Yeah.
this is what I'd hoped for from the beginning, that we just do aggregate score.
Yep.
But if you
Me
operate
too.
as an echo station from home, you're going to have guys running echo with, 100-foot towers and they're still going to be operating like that. But I guess if everybody's a B, I actually have to go back and read it. I just glanced at it real briefly before I jumped in here. So I'm going to step away from here for a few minutes.
Yeah.
So this thing starts about 7 o'clock, and
Yep.
then I'll be back. I won't be gone too long, and then I can click people in.
You know,
You can make Alan a co-host if you want, and he can put people in.
Well, he is the president.
You can have multiple co-hosts.
presidents have no powers. You know that. That's the way it is in a real democratic society.
Yeah, I actually made Rich the host instead of the co-host, so he had the power until he
It's the prime
made me a
minister,
co-host.
right? You call me the queen.
So, Alan, you're now a co-host.
All right. So Chrome 327.
We don't know who that is, and Jerry
Yeah.
had asked him, and nobody changed it or responded. I think I'm just going to kick him out and see if he'll sign back in.
Yeah, my policy at other meetings I manage is I ask 3 times over 5 or 6 minutes, and if there's no, and I've asked twice already, if there's no answer, then I kick them out.
Right.
Yeah, and I think they should, like I did, and Rich, you did, name with your call sign, because
Mhm.
you're gonna have a bunch of people. And it's a lot easier for the secretary to grab everything that way, you know.
Yeah. Well, when actually I sign in with my Google account, so mine shows up as RD,
Okay. Yeah.
and then I just have to, I just click next to the name, and then you can type whatever you want to.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So you can see my setup in my basement here. This is one cool thing about I have my my basement set up here. I've got my station over here.
Another thing is it's cool in the basement.
Oh, it's really cool in the basement.
Yeah,
In fact,
it's
Station.
true.
I had to turn the heater on down here because it was only like 60 degrees. I'm like, I got shorts on. I can't sit down there for an hour in shorts with it at
I have
60
the
degrees.
opposite problem. My shack's on the 2nd floor, and it gets really hot. I have a fan going.
Yeah, my house is like that too. And I actually in the basement I have dampers and stuff, and so I have marked on the ductwork, summer and winter, and I walk along with a pole and I open and close dampers when I change the season so I can get more cold air upstairs.
Oh, this is going to confuse people.
What's that?
I just changed. Oh, and it's sideways. I changed my virtual background to me, but it's sideways.
Well, I did the K3QBD thing, did that too. And I'm like, well, I didn't hit like mirror or anything. And so I shut the program down and restarted it, and it came back up normalish. So.
So my other meeting starts at 7. And I will as I say, mute and check out my video in a few minutes.
I have to do this in the basement because I've been sitting in my chair upstairs all day in my other system.
Huh.
I have to change the scenery, you know what I mean?
Quick shut off this video. Oh, let's see.
I write Alan in your call sign. I love it.
Please sign in with your Allen and call sign.
I wrote my name. Oh, man, I'll tell
Yes.
you, my head is big. I got
Oh,
let's
yes.
try.
That's hysterical. And by the way, this meeting is being recorded.
Yes, I got it. This is comical.
It's a brave new world. I cannot figure out how to change my name on my iPad, which is how I'm in, so that I can have my call sign.
Yeah.
Oh, that was.
That's funny. There we go.
There we go.
I love it.
That's good. I'll have to cut out that piece of the recording.
That's okay. We're allowed to make mistakes. The meeting officially hasn't started, so we're all good.
That's true.
Oh boy.
It's been an interesting experience using Zoom.
Mm-hmm. I've been.
Nice.
I went back home. I went to the office yesterday just for a day. You know, I haven't been there. You know, what's 9 weeks. Everything's polished. Stairwell, railing.
Yep.
I haven't seen anything so clean since I've been working at this place.
You know, we've split into 2 teams, and you're in 2 weeks. If you want to, you're advised to stay home, but only like necessary personnel have to be there, like the guy who has to run the computer room.
Right.
And then they clean every day, but then between teams coming in, they do a massive cleaning. I spend the entire weekend just cleaning.
Yeah.
There.
I think we got Chet. I just got Chet in.
Chet was in, and yeah, there he is. And K3DX.
He's trying to connect. Did you let him in?
Yes.
He did. Okay.
It's, yeah, connecting to audio is.
We're gonna have a lot of people because I heard there was a lot of folks that came on the net last night. I heard that were.
I heard that. I missed the net. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
was intending to be there. Okay, I'm going to go to silent mode.
Yeah.
Literally, my phone is right next to me, so if you text, I'll know to jump back in.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Okay. Yeah, actually, I was listening to the net, and after a while, I thought, well, we ought to just invite these people to come to the Zoom conference, and maybe get them on the email list or whatever. And maybe in some point in some year, we could have a meeting and actually be together in one spot. But that may be a while. So.
Oh, who knows? Who knows? Only hope, right?
Well, it really depends on the person. Like, you know, Jerry has asthma real bad. He's in the hospital a couple times a year, and I don't think he wants to take a chance. So.
Well, I think we can actually do both. We can have live and we can have virtual all tied in together.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess this email we got is a kind of a game changer for field day. I probably ought to go read that before we get started.
Yes, it is, and it really not that it doesn't do anything to our plans. It actually you're right. The only problem with that, Rich, is these guys and their big stuff. You know, their big setups, right?
Say that again.
Well, I mean, you know, if they can operate on their own, I mean, what, and they can work within, you know, what precludes them from using any type of equipment?
Oh, nothing.
What's that?
Yeah.
I mean, but we're not contesters anyway, so it's not like it matters really. It's just.
Well, the good thing about it, from just reading the briefly, is that you can operate a Class D station, can work anybody, because normally on field day, a Class D station can't work other Class D stations. That's a home with commercial power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you one thing though. I've been involved with this now. How many years now? 4 years with you guys? 3-4 years. I'm just amazed at the different venues that this hobby has. Just different branch offs, and it's just people
It's
think
the hobby of hobbies, man.
it's amazing how I tell people when I try to get the word out. It's not just sitting on a radio anymore. You know, there's so much to do in this hobby. You know.
Yeah, I was telling Jerry, I called Jerry on the phone. We had with an FT8 conference.
Yeah.
And so he gave me some pointers. And actually, I thought, when I work my first DX station, I'm putting this thing away. but but actually, so anyway, so between Jerry's help and a little bit of luck and no propagation, yesterday I worked Italy, Slovenia,
Yeah.
and somewhere else with 4 watts. And actually, I got tired of clicking on things, and so I just called CQ. And I had more luck calling CQ with 4 watts than I did clicking on people trying to work them.
So I Jerry and I, we, similar. There's a lot of tricks, and like one is receiving and transmitting in different parts of the channel. That channel, right? The frequency. I like to CQ down around 60 hertz in that segment. Because why? Because if somebody's got their audio on, you can hear that 60 hertz tone. Yeah. And it gets people's attention.
Yeah, this thing that I built, the bandpass filter in it is from about 800 to about 2800.
Right.
So you can't operate down that low. So I just have the software set up so I see from 700 to 3000, and I just have to remember to keep the receive and the transmit in the passband of that.
Actually, I meant to say 360, not hertz, not 60. 360.
Yeah, I knew what you meant.
300
Whether
hertz.
you did or not, I knew what
Right.
you meant.
Yeah. But it is interesting how people gets their attention because they're so used to the higher tones, the 1 kilohertz in that range there, right? And you throw a 300 hertz tone in there, it makes you kind of look because you don't hear it often.
Yeah.
You really don't. So it's
But well, the thing is, it wouldn't work with me because I don't listen to it. I turn it off. So, actually, what I do is I listen to the shortwave radio while I'm working FT8. So that way, well, to tell you the truth, I'll click on the thing and walk over to the workbench and do something, and then I'll glance over at the computer every now and then to see if my computer's made a contact or not.
I mean, that sound.
Yeah, I turned that off. I'm like, yeah.
So this is 30 meters, man. It's booming tonight.
Yeah. And actually, well, when I first crank it up, what I'll do is I'll turn on my big radio in the shack and listen to my tones just to make sure that everything's still
Right. That's right. That's a good thing, right?
And so I'm letting cancel.
So my next
Admit Bill. Admit Mike Frederico. And I don't know who Walt is, but we'll let him in. And Ken Pierce.
Hey, Rich.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So you going to work? You stay at home, Mike?
Staying home. Working from home.
Well, it's summertime now. Your kids can help. Yeah. Yeah, I told Jerry if we're going to keep doing this, I'm buying a USB microphone. You can see the microphone right here. It's an old computer microphone.
Sounds great. I have one of them laying around somewhere.
And actually, between working FT8 and trying to get the audio set up for that, and then I don't know if I have this old. Actually, it's an i7 laptop, and it should work. I cannot get the clock on that thing better than 4 seconds.
Really?
So it just won't decode anything.
Are you using the software, the time software?
Yeah, I use Dimension 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it wouldn't. It just everything I tried. The thing I did notice about the Dimension 4 software is that you need to pick a server that's close to you because it makes a difference in the time. If you pick one like a random one in Japan or something, you won't get a very good time. Hey Ken, hey Bill.
Hello.
Who else is here? Walt. Evening, everyone.
Rich Dole.
Everybody-
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Good. Everybody checked their email before they got here?
Oh, yeah,
That's how I got here.
Oh.
not
yeah.
that email.
You got another email?
About the ARRL
Yeah.
changes for field day. If somebody read the whole thing, did you read the whole thing, Alan?
I read most of it. I've read the, yes, I did.
The Sarnoff Club sent me some of the changes and what they're trying to do to be able to stay at home as well as hook everybody together.
Yeah, that's pretty much what the email said. A little bit I read. I didn't have time to read the whole thing, and I figured that by the time by the time everybody gets here, somebody will have read it and we'll talk about it. So
Let me see if I can do this. Hold on. Who can share all participants? No, only hosts. I don't want to do that. I want to see if I can share my screen on this thing.
Yeah, just click share screen. Are you the host?
I'm the co-host. Here it is. Got it. So you should see that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it talks about the two rules. This is an interesting one, though, right there.
Yeah.
And this is, of course, interesting, too. That does apply. All right. Okay, stop sharing. There we go. And let's admit Frank and Alan. What's our start time, Mike, again? 7:19?
7:24.
24. It's not on the webpage anymore.
It's not?
I don't see it anywhere.
In
we got some new
1900.
people. If you're not looking at everybody, so you got Timothy, KB3IUM, Frank, Davis Jefferson. I don't know his call. And actually, if you want to change your what it says on the screen, if you click on your name and click more, you can type in your call sign and your name. So a lot of people here.
Yes. Wow, we do have a lot of people.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Frank, I like your shirt.
For Frank, it's probably an acronym for something else.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Davis.
Thanks for the invite.
You're welcome.
It's the timing is perfect. Perfect time.
Hey, Sam, how you doing? Seen you for a while.
Yep. Yeah, I'm doing all right. Been just huddled down here, you know?
Yeah, I guess like everybody else.
Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, I've been going out a little bit. I go to work, lock myself in the office. People want to talk to me, make them go outside. And
So
But
this is different from before, Hal?
actually, I'm loving it because basically people don't complain to you near as bad if you make them stand out in the yard and talk to you.
But you always made them stand there. Didn't you have a complaint window?
Yeah, just one big enough for my foot to go through. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it's
Is that anything like a TS card?
TF card,
TS.
card. I don't
No.
even know what it is.
Oh, I guess military people know it. I'm not going to describe it, please.
So we have two more people. Paul just checked in, and Judy, and some of you know, some of you know. Hey, Chet's on SpaceX. Your background. Getting ready for launch. I thought it was kind of amazing that their spacesuits look like something from Star Wars. The guys look like ninjas.
I told my son they look like 60s cheesy Japanese sci-fi.
Well, you know, Elon Musk is a little weird.
Well, that's probably where the aesthetic came from.
More than likely. Yeah.
I'm selling hats.
I think I'd make my screen bigger. I'm not sure all of you are going to fit.
You can have up to 100 folks.
I was saying with Ken yesterday when they said that 7 people could fit on that aircraft. I said, I'm pretty upset that we didn't get invited to be on that aircraft.
Yeah, so much for quarantining. So, yeah.
So just quick, everyone here that's new to the group, just be patient. We usually start around 7:25-ish. So we're just chatting right now.
And there's a long story behind that. And you have to join the club or we can't tell you.
Wow.
It has something to do with baseball games and pianos. So there you go. So, Paul, did you have a read of that email that came out from the ARRL a little bit ago? No audio.
I did. And well, I don't know. It kind of blows up what I was going to say tonight, but I may go ahead and say it anyway. Because I think there are still some differences between trying to do a bunch of 1D stations versus trying to do something a little more combined. So, but we can talk about that.
Why can't you combine on the internet?
Well, I mean, that was
you're doing like you're doing with Zoom here, and then everybody kind of then knows within that circle what's going on with what's on the air.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were going to where did he go? We were going to do a virtual thing. It's just a question of exactly how we structure it. But I'll show you what I worked out when we get to that point, and people can tell me whether or not that still makes any kind of sense to them.
Is there any way I can mirror the screen, flip the screen while we're live, or do I have to pop out and pop back in?
For what?
You know how you can mirror, you can flip the screen.
The background.
Because you see our.
Well, I don't know about you, but my image is mirrored.
Yeah, it is. That's right. I'm talking about flipping it back because you can see the call letters in the scene here, my scene behind me.
Yes.
Flipped.
QBD. K3 QBD.
Not flipped for us.
No?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, but Sam looks like he's asleep.
I think that's just a picture.
Sam's frozen in time.
Yeah, it's just a picture. I don't have a camera active right now.
Let me see something here. Let me have him use it. Let me see something here. Oh, here we go.
I heard a lot of people complaining that that flyover didn't make it over North Wilmington. I was, the picture on my screen right now is the flyover as viewed from Newark.
I was at Lum's Pond State Park and they flew right over us too.
Yeah.
Flew over me in Glasgow, literally like right over my house. So everybody on the line here, to make it easy for Mike, if you right click on your window, there's a button, there's a highlight called rename. It'd be nice just to put your first name and your call sign there. That would help Mike, our secretary, gather for the notes.
Rename.
No, now I got to do work.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have it on I'm running the application.
Yeah. Yeah, Alan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Yes.
Yeah, do you get my call sign? 'Cause I think I did it right.
Yes.
Yes, we got it.
Okay. All right, thanks.
KB3IUM.
Yep. Okay, you did get it. Thank you, guys. How you guys doing this evening?
We are well. How about yourself?
Yeah, doing pretty good. Yeah, I'm just glad I got on here tonight. I thought I wasn't going to make it.
Glad you're here.
Okay, appreciate it.
Hey, Tim, you're on my screen. Maybe I just need to make my screen bigger. Your call sign got cut off.
Oh, did?
If you
Make this bigger.
You'll see it.
Mouse.
KB3IUM.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, there you go.
All right, got it?
Yep.
Okay. All right, thanks, Davis.
KB3 IUM.
Yes.
We spoke a couple of weeks ago, I think. You were telling me about a couple of repeaters and a couple of nets going on over in South Jersey, I believe.
Yeah, they have
you?
yeah, it does. They have the Salem County Aries races. That's on Sundays, at 9 o'clock on N2 KJ repeater. Then they have a Cerns net that comes on at 8:30. Then they have one other net just to test out the digital stuff. That's at 9:30.
Well, since we spoke last, I finally got around to getting back in and programming my radio, and I think I've got all the South Jersey repeaters that were showing up on RF Finder.
Okay, you have a CF4 radio, C4 FM?
Say again?
Yeah, you have a C4 FM radio because when I do the digital nets, I have the C4.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
I'm saving my pennies up. Next, as soon as ham radio outlet opens back up, I'm going to go get one.
Are you going to let the public go back in?
I was there today.
Oh,
wow.
Really? They're open now?
Well, I picked some stuff up.
Okay.
Oh.
I picked up some clay. You drive up and they throw it in the window.
That worked.
Yeah, none of them were wearing masks, which I thought was kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, they have SpaceX and stuff over here. So.
Good evening. This is Foster. How you guys doing?
Hello, Foster. Is everybody looking at the gallery screen so they can see everybody?
Yeah.
Yep.
And actually, if you mute yourself, when you want to talk, if you hit the space bar on your computer, and it's like push to talk, so you can hit the space bar, talk, and then let it off, and then you're muted again. Heard a repeater ID, and so.
How about that? It works.
I was in a Zoom meeting this afternoon and it didn't work because the host had muted everybody, and so I couldn't unmute myself.
Well, I'm the host tonight, and you know how I am. So.
Hey, Rich, you're the hostess with the mostest, okay?
Thanks. That laugh in or something?
I just had to put something, you know.
Yeah.
Which organization or individual rather runs that Delaware City repeater?
I'm not sure it's an organization. I think it's just one guy.
I mean, I can run the call sign through QRZ. I did that once before. Somebody down in Middletown.
Yeah.
And, I'd like to basically just send them $20 in a check or Wawa gift card or whatever, for saying thank you for picking such a sweet location for.
Well, it is a good repeater. I think the repeater's up about 400 feet, I believe, up on a Delmarva tower.
Okay.
That's why it has such good coverage. It's why you can talk to it with an HT from Newark, or I live in Fair Hill and I can actually do it from here. So.
Yeah, I've talked to it from Newark, Hockessin. I started to lose it north of Greenville when I was driving up to PA on 52 one day. But I can pretty much pick it up anywhere. And can't say that for a lot of the other repeaters.
Yeah. So what time do we start this meeting, Alan?
We're starting it in 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
That repeater, that's the only one I ever hear anybody talking on.
I picked up a little bit of activity on one of the Christiana healthcare repeaters out of Middletown one day, which surprised me. But yeah, it's the only one I ever hear any activity on.
Did we have our net last night?
Yes.
You missed it. It was the best net ever.
Wow.
Thanks, Dave.
There was 18 participants.
Yeah, it was a marathon.
Everybody had a chance to talk twice.
Except for Chet.
I was on another net.
Well, in spite of having 18 check-ins, I think there were still some that never got picked up because I was seeing or hearing other call signs that never got picked up.
Yeah, I was one of them.
I have a 5 watt HT with a indoor antenna, and it won't hit that repeater. And Dennis is even closer than I am, and he can't hit it.
I hit that repeater with 5 watts over in Elkton, so I got to tell you that's a good repeater.
Chet, I heard you call in.
You did? I didn't call in.
Well, that's interesting because I heard you.
I was on the 3905 Century Club 40 meter net at the time.
Oh, I wonder if I had my HF radio on in the background. That's interesting.
I think we should get started. I don't see anyone else jumping into this this evening. It's 7:21. I think we can get moving here. Welcome to the May First State Amateur Radio Club meeting. A couple of things before we get started. I know we see some new faces on here, which is great. Welcome. You're all welcome to join. We usually start out with some introductions, and then we'll move into our formalities of our meeting. Just want to start out with a quick announcement. Tonight it's going to be a very busy night because we are going to be talking about field day. So I really want to minimize our discussion on old business and new business if we can tonight, so that we can focus on our field day planning, because we have a lot to do here. So let me start with the introductions. I'm Alan, W3ISR, you can see. I guess I don't know how we do this because I don't know how everybody's organized here.
You're going to have to call the names.
Yeah. Bill, in the corner there. Was it
W3DE?
Gotcha. Mike. Mike M.
Mike, KB3REU.
Timothy. We're patient. Don't worry about it. Take your time.
Okay, I'm here. KB3IUM.
Awesome. Frank.
This is Frank, AD3M.
Davis.
It's Davis, KZ3DL.
It looks like everybody's in order. I guess, Paul, you're next, right? You see that, Paul? Nope.
No, okay. For some reason or other, sometimes the space bar thing doesn't work. I'm in a different order, but that's fine. I'm Paul, K3PGM.
Jennifer.
Jennifer Robinson, KD2 EYR.
Welcome.
I visited before, but had to work nights up until recently.
Great. Glad you're here. Dennis.
Dennis, KC3DY.
Tom Perry.
Tom, KC3FAU.
Ken.
Ken, NU3A in Newark.
Dave.
Which one?
Dave Stefanowski. Got that right?
Oh, there you go. Thank you. I forgot to change my name there. Dave, KC3AM up in Claymont.
Great. Thanks, Dave. Bill Hicks.
Hey, Bill Hicks, W3AEO in Wilmington.
Great. Chet. We only have one Chet.
Yeah, Chet, WA3I.
Well,
We
have
only
two
need
Alans.
one.
There's the second Alan. You're up, Alan.
Alan, K3AAA in Newark.
Welcome. Rich.
Rich, WD3C.
Jerry's not here. He's staying on standby. Dave.
Oh, it must be the other Dave.
That's
This is-
Dave, yes.
Good evening, Dave, K3DX.
Walt.
This is Walt, KC3WSR. You guys hear me? I gotta put it differently.
You guys hear him? Because he's very, very faint on my end.
Low, but I heard him.
Okay, you got a call sign, Mike?
Yes.
Great. Sam.
Sam, N3ROY here.
Our field day coordinator, Mike.
Mike, W3ASW.
I got a couple of the names. I'll get back to the call sign. Bill, our second Bill.
Third, actually.
Third. I guess I don't know if he's on mute. K3, ONO. Are you there? Over. All right. Forster.
This is Foster, K3, FXS, also in Claymont.
Great. And then we have a call sign here, WB3LGC.
It's Steve.
It's oh yeah, that's Steve. Yeah, a few people just joined, and I just let them in, and they'll be popping up here shortly.
Okay. That's Steve. Dave just showed up.
Sign in, please, Dave.
Hey guys, how's everybody?
Yeah, Dave, sign in, please.
How do I do that?
Just call your call name and call sign. We're just doing.
It's up there. I just did.
K3ONO is here.
It's okay. All right, and who else I got here? I got a call in from a 302-247 number here. Who's that? I'm sorry, 475 number.
That's K3ONO.
Oh, okay, Bill. Thanks. You're back. All right. Go ahead.
AC3DH is in here as well, Ken.
All right, awesome. And I thought I saw Wendy. She popped in and popped out.
Yep, I'm here. I finally got connected.
Okay, great. Wendy, your call sign.
KB3ZDM.
Okay. Did I get everybody? I just want to make sure because I don't know if somebody dropped off on me or popped in. Okay, good. I'm going to reiterate what I said earlier. We're going to be very busy tonight. From announcements, we're going to try to move through our old business and new business pretty quickly tonight, unless we have something really hot, because we want to get to field day planning. With that, I'm going to move it over to Dave. He's going to give us a treasurer's report.
All right, thank you. Good evening.
I guess we'll vote on that when we get to new business. Okay. Let's vote on let's get a motion to accept the current budget. Do I have a second? First, I mean?
I second.
I'll you first. Well, I guess I put the motion on the table.
Make a motion, we accept as read.
Yes. Go ahead, Dennis.
Okay, now I second.
There you go. Motion accepted. All right. I guess we'll move on to old business, Mike.
Do we need to vote on whether we're going to send money to Mike or not?
Sorry about that.
I was gonna wait till our new business to discuss that new business. Dennis, that's all. That'll be quick.
I don't have any old business. I don't have my notes from last month.
You got an F. Okay, so I mean, I can pull them up, but I think we'll hold on a second. Let's see what I got here. I do have. You did post them, right?
No, it was a video. I didn't post the transcript yet, I don't think.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, see online we got as far as March. Okay, no problem. All right, so I guess we'll move on to new business then right now. And the only business I remember, before we get to new business, is our location. But we're gonna put that on. We're gonna put that on a hiatus until we know that.
Yeah.
So let's hold.
Are you recording?
Yes, it's being recorded right now. Yeah.
Okay, good.
So okay, so let's move on to a new business, and I guess we'll start with Dave Mascaro. All right, let's get that out on the table. So Dave, I think you pretty much explained that. I guess we should put a motion on the table to I guess give a gift, consulting gift of $200 to Dave.
Second.
All right, we're good? Good? All right, motion accepted. Okay, so Dave, you got it. We'll get his address, right?
Got to vote.
Everybody has to do the thumbs up if they
Okay, I thought it was a motion.
want to
Sorry.
vote. Yeah.
Any nays? I think the ayes got it.
Yep.
Okay. This is a little strange trying to do this Robert Rules of Order on VTC here. So, okay. Any other new business?
We need a motion. I make a motion that we pay Dave Drew $60 for PO Box.
Second.
Second.
Okay. I guess we vote on it, right? Yep. No, is that?
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All in favor?
In favor? Oh, look at the thumbs. I like that.
Yeah. Why don't we just do that every year for now, and then we don't have to vote on it?
Okay.
Well, actually, I think we did vote on it. I just couldn't remember exactly whether it was a fixed amount or if it was always 50% of whatever it was.
I'll go back through the notes and see if I can find that. I remember us going through that before.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Is there any other new business that anyone wants on the table? Make this a fast meeting here. I guess what we should do, Mike, while we have this window, is explain to everybody the new participants how we go about doing our membership. Right? If I'm right, please correct me if I'm wrong. It's what, 3 meetings or 3 events,
Correct.
and then payment of dues for 1 year.
Well, it's 3 meetings, then they can fill out an application. We have to vote, and then the dues.
Right. So those new folks here.
Didn't we? Did we not change
We
the
did not.
requirement to be
No.
3 events, not 3 meetings?
Three events.
Events.
So that included like participating in the net, I thought. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it is an event.
That's a good point.
Yes, that counts. As long as we have record of it.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying meetings don't count? Meetings don't count? Only
No,
if
they do. They do. It used to be, the wording used to be 3 meetings, but we changed that to mean 3 events because we did other things and people participated, and we decided to loosen up the requirements, so to speak. So we changed it to events. A meeting is an event, and participating in the on-air net is an event. Coming out to field day and participating is an event.
Does that, I'm sorry, I have another question. So does that mean in 1 year, like I went to a meeting last year, but then have been working the night shift until now? So does that meeting count or not?
Yeah, we don't have high standards.
Okay, that's fine.
It counts.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, after all, Mike got in.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, I do keep a log of the people who check into the Wednesday night net, and glad to see a couple of folks who were newcomers to the net last night that are on board with Zoom tonight. So, but if anybody has a question about that, I do keep I keep a log of the net.
Yeah, Dave, we get submissions. I'll ask you for just to show me some proof. So if anybody is on the meeting tonight and you've reached your 3, just reach out to me, either through email or chat me, get me your email address. I'll work on getting you the application and then we can go forward. Jen, if you can let me know when, what meeting you were at last year. I missed a lot of meetings last year, so the records were so-so.
I'm not quite sure myself. It was like July or August, but I'll email you what I think it was. I still have more event to go, but I'm hoping to maybe do something at Field Day.
She looks honest. We'll just take her word for it. How about that?
Yeah, the whole reason behind that is just to make sure that we get to know each other before someone joins. So there aren't any surprises by either party.
So this is Wendy. I have participated in the net twice, and now I'm here. So does tonight count as my 3rd, or would I have to check into a net one more time?
No, nope.
That counts.
That's number 3.
Oh, cool.
Welcome, Wendy.
Thanks.
Welcome.
I mean, I know some of you guys from CARES and also from, Field Day a couple of years in a row.
She still needs $20.
Yeah, that's what I said. A vote and $20.
There you go. I can do that. I can do the $20.
Okay, very good. Hey, Dave, I was going to mention real quickly. I know you've been hosting the nets for the last 2, 3 events. You just want to give a quick update while we're a new business here, while we're on that?
Before we go on to that, could I ask a question?
Sure.
Don't we prorate the dues? So starting in June, wouldn't it be $10? Dave Drew? You're muted, Dave.
Not anymore, I'm not. We've been inconsistent there, and I did join another organization where you could join in December and you'd have to pay the whole $20 dues, and it does seem to be fair to somehow prorate it. Maybe we could do it based upon quarters, because it'd be nice to do something that's divisible with $20. Like after the first quarter, it's $15, second quarter, it's $10, third quarter, I forget, I can't add anymore. That would make sense.
I should mention that that's what happened to me when I joined. It was in the 4th quarter. And so I think I was asked to pay a $5 dues the first year.
Yeah, so dues run from January to December 31st. Is that right, Dave?
Right.
Just to clarify for folks.
Yeah, guys, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind paying the whole 20. I mean, me personally, if I met the requirement, you don't have to prorate me personally. I just go ahead and pay the whole 20 because, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, expenses come up in case the equipment breaks down in a sense. I wouldn't mind. Me personally, like when it's time for me to qualify to make the dues, I wouldn't have a problem paying 20. So once I fill out my application, I'll just go ahead and pay the 20. I mean, that's a small amount considering how much the equipment and stuff costs. So, and if you needed more than that, I could probably kick in another 20. So I don't mind.
Be careful now.
I pay. Huh? What was that? I don't mind. Yeah, I don't, like I said, me personally, I don't mind. So, I mean, because like I said, you guys are doing
even gotten donuts yet.
Who? I haven't? Yeah, well, I haven't had a chance to get up out of bed yet, so I still got 2 more meetings before I get the whole day done. But yeah, hopefully when it's my time, I can go ahead and just pay the 20, and you don't have to prorate.
I would agree with that. I'm not worried about the prorating either.
Yeah.
We were worried about the treasury running out when we raised it to 20, and now we've got over $2,000 in the treasury.
Right. Yeah. Well, maybe, well, for new business, maybe for the next meeting, we might want to talk about also making a contribution to the Delaware City repeater, since the club's using that repeater now. We don't have to do it tonight.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that either.
I'll put it in the notes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
All right.
Why are we using the Delaware City repeater?
Good coverage,
because-
I think.
Because we get, with the sad exception of Chet, apparently, and I was calling for you last night, many more people can get on the Delaware City net throughout Newcastle County, particular folks with HTs, than can hit the linking net repeaters either in North Wilmington or Newark. And with the delays and some of the other challenges we have on the linking net, after an experiment a couple of weeks ago, the feedback was overwhelmingly in favor of let's use the Delaware City repeater. And after a little detective work, I was able to get correct emails for the trustees, asked their permission, also got the permission for CARES to jump on that repeater from time to time. But they have absolutely no problem with us using it. So yeah, I think giving them a donation would be great. But so far, like last night, we had 19 check-ins, and I'm glad to see a couple of people on Zoom with us tonight were folks that checked in with us last night. So the results we're getting from Delaware City are much better than the linking net repeaters. Okay.
The 955 repeater, I have a hard time getting into it from 3 miles up the hill from Newark, running 50 watts. It just doesn't seem to work over this way, and I think Dave Drew's in the same boat. We just can't hit that repeater. So
I think the reason, one of the reasons it's been good is because it's in Delaware City, right? So it's kind of in a flat area of the state, you know, and it's off the river, you know, off the bay. So it might have a good propagation to it. That might be one of the reasons why it's like I said, I have 5 watts on an HT in Elton. I hit it clear as could be.
well, it's because it's up 400 feet.
Yeah, I get that, but the point is that I think some of the terrain is very hilly up north of 95 in some places, you know. So that might have some effect on the way people can hit the repeaters.
Yeah, that repeater works so well. I could hit it with a handy talkie up in Philadelphia with no problem, and that's around buildings.
Yeah, and that's because you go right down the river. That's why.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, you can't beat that.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. Dennis, you have a hard time hitting that repeater?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with Chet.
Yeah, it's also UHF, so that has a lot to do with it too. That's could be challenging a higher frequency. So anyway, all right. Any other? Let's go new business here. Anybody want to bring up anything else?
Al, do we need to make a motion, say from here on out, we're going to use the Delaware City? Do you want a motion on that?
We don't need to vote on that.
Since I usually do the net anyway, I mean, I could probably monitor, 955 on the side there. But, you know, it seems like, I know there's a couple guys that are having problems with it, but overwhelmingly, most people prefer it. So do we need to make a motion to go with it from this point on?
It's your call. It's not a motion. It's how you want to run it.
We don't need a vote.
That's just a voluntary kind of thing. So I would suggest, Dave, seriously, maybe we just switch it up once in a while. And that's another reason why we do it for emergency reasons, to see making sure the stability on other repeaters. How's that for a thought?
That sounds like a reasonable compromise. You know, maybe once every 3 weeks or so, we'll go back to the linking system, because it is a good exercise to get people practiced on using the linking system, because you have that little bit of a delay. There's some different skill sets you need on that. So yeah, I think we can kind of work that out. Maybe one out of every do 3 on Delaware City, then 1 on LinkingNet or something like that. Yeah.
Dave, I'll reach out to you and we'll come up with a schedule so I can update the website so that everyone's clear. They have one place to go for the information.
Yeah, that would be terrific. And also maybe, I don't want to hog up all the fun of being net control. I mean, I really love doing it, but certainly be glad to spread the wealth around. So we want to have a schedule, different guy, because, we all have lives and other stuff going on. And hopefully, someday I'll be able to get back to my hockey league and play some
I
hockey.
knew
So
that was
might not
coming.
get it all the time. So yeah, we can maybe share the wealth on it.
You're gonna lose the man once hockey starts up. Yeah, you know that.
I knew. I was just waiting for it. I was just waiting for him to bring it up.
Well,
I have
if I
one
played
thing.
hockey, I'd be like, look, I'd be getting out of shape like the rest of you guys. So
One other new thing for all the guests, if you'd like to be added to the email group, just send me a chat with your whatever email address you would like to add. And just know that whatever email address you give me, you have to reply from that email address in order for it to make it through the group.
Everybody get that? Okay.
Is there a listing available of the members and their email addresses?
Within the system there is, but it's not something that we ever agreed to share. Is there something you need, Dennis? You want to see what you're listed as?
No, I just wanted to communicate with people directly instead of broadcasting it.
I would imagine if you go to the QRZ page and look at people's call sign, look up their call sign, their email address is probably there. It's not like it's secret. It's just something that we've never done. But I know most people have it on the QRZ page.
Dennis, you can also email the whole thing and say whoever it is that you're trying to reach to just email you directly.
Yeah, okay. That sounds good.
Okay. New business anymore? Going once? Twice? All right, let's move on.
Field day.
Yeah, I was just check. We don't have Bill here, so we have no ARL updates. So I guess, let's talk field day here. We'll go to that. Do we close the meeting, Mike, on this one, or do we include it in our meeting?
No, this is part of our discussion.
I wasn't sure. So, I'm going to hand it over to Mike, our field day coordinator, and let him carry the ball on this one here. Mike, are you there, sir?
I am here.
Coming nice and clear.
Good and clear, huh?
Yeah.
5 by 9. So anyway, I think we at the last meeting we decided, and we had talked, and we said that we needed to come up with a plan somehow for field day. So we had a couple of people that got on and did we had a committee. Paul was in charge of that committee. I was there, Alan, and a few other people. So we came up with a plan, and Paul's going to present that plan to the club tonight. So Paul, I think you can do that. I think if you hit the share button, then you can show everybody what we got.
Yes, I should preface it by saying that, of course, there was this announcement today from the ARRL saying they've changed temporarily some of the rules for field day. So some of what I'm telling you tonight may not really apply, or we may choose to do something else if it gets a bit complex. but I will go ahead and present what we had decided upon, and then I'll we can entertain changes to that process. But let me first.
You can share the screen, right, Paul? You have that ability?
Yeah. Hang on a second. Nope. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Let's see.
Alan, you have to enable it.
I think it's Rich. You have to enable it.
I think any co-host should be able to do it.
All right. What do? I hit him. No. I'm going to put him in the waiting room if he doesn't stop. That's
I think it might be in the settings of the meeting, or can you click on him and I don't know if you can click on him and allow it. I've never done that.
No, I can't allow it. I don't have anything to say about sharing. All right. Let's see.
It's in the meeting where.
Give me a sec. Let me see. Where would it be, Mike, on here?
I'm looking.
Oh, hold on a second. I got it. Here we go. I got it. It's all done. Okay, check it out now, Paul.
All right, hang on. Here we go.
You got it. Looks good.
Okay. So again, I want to say that this all predated the rules changes. So I'm going to be talking about what some of the rules are, but I'll try to annotate that with my understanding of how that's changed in the last 24 hours. So starting, what assumptions we made to make this plan? Well, first is that we wanted to do field day as a club activity. I mean, clearly we could all just stay home and do our own field day activities, but a lot of people participate in field day because it's a group activity and there's a certain amount of camaraderie involved. Secondly, we assume that nobody wants to get sick in the process. And the next assumption was that we wanted to retain the model we had last year, where we had two transmitters, one that did phone and CW and one that was for digital modes, which turned out to be mostly just FT8. And finally, that in order to preserve the set of camaraderie, we would use the internet to do some amount of offline sharing as if we were doing it together in the same place. So, you know, cogito ergo Zoom. So what, to understand what the rules are, there are, in the past, we've entered under Class A. We've been either 1A or 2A. Class A means that they're set up by a group or a club of 3 or more people, not in a regular station location, not using any facilities installed for permanent station use, and not using a structure installed permanently for field day, which, as I said the other day, means that you can hang an antenna in a tree unless you specifically planted that tree to be a field day antenna support. Any equipment has to fit within the 300-meter diameter circle, and you're not allowed to use any commercial power for your transmitting or receiving equipment. And that means the radios, but also any computer that controls or operates a radio, like the FT8 thing. It does not include computers that are just used for logging or Zoom or controlling coffee pots. Those can all be plugged into commercial power. Class D and E are the classes that are applied to permanent home stations. And the only difference between them is that D is that you're on commercial power, and E means you're operating, as with Class A or B, on emergency power, just your transmitters. Again, the rest of your house doesn't have to be on a battery to be a Class E. Now, the rules as of today, they've suspended the restriction on Class D. The one difference really between Class D and Class E is that a Class D station, which presumably is the way you would normally run your home AM station, cannot contact another Class D station for field day credit. And that has been suspended as of today for this year because of social distancing requirements. So Class D is on commercial power. Class E means that you're running your transmitting and receiving equipment, again, on emergency power. Any computer you use to operate it has to be on emergency power. Again, that does not apply to any other equipment or any other computers, only the ones that are operating the radios. As far as I can tell from reading the rules, there is no restriction on the size of a station under Class D or E. I assume it has to fit inside the Delaware state lines, otherwise it's not a Delaware station. But other than that, there's nothing that says that it has to be under 300 meters or 3 kilometers or anything else in particular. So the architecture that we originally proposed, or we were going to propose until today, is what I called the remote 2E model. So meaning we would configure 2 existing stations to be our 2 stations, and we would group them together virtually. And we would only have a maximum of 2 operators operating those stations. They would be operable by remote control or locally if it happens to be the station in the home of the person who's operating. And again, we would have 1 phone and CW and 1 digital station. And we would trade off operating them remotely or locally. And again, to qualify as Class E, and this has not changed. They did not waive that rule. If you're operating under commercial power, you're going to be Class D, although under the new rules, you can get credit for contacting other Class D stations. But if you want to be listed as Class E, then you have to operate your transmitting and receiving equipment on emergency power, which means that if you are at home and you're operating the computer remotely on your iPhone, you can't plug the iPhone in. You have to use the battery. And the third part is that we would share our logging the way we do when we're all in the same place. So you can see the log entries that are being created. We're using the N3 FJP software. You can see the log entries that are created in real time by the other station, or anybody else can check and see what's being logged right now, what's been logged in the past. So how would we do this? Again, so this is, we may now want to modify this because, but the idea is that we would have 2 sites. Can you see my pointer?
Yes.
Okay. So, whoops. So we would have 1 phone and CW site and 1 digital site. We have two club members who have offered the use of their Flex 6400 radios for this activity, Chet and Brendan. And we're assuming then that one of these stations would be at Bill K310's site, because that's where Chet's radio is. And the other, we don't yet have a site for. We have a radio because Brendan is happy to let us use it because it's currently sitting in a box because he doesn't have an antenna at his current location. So if we're going to do this, we would need to have a volunteer who has a site with a halfway decent antenna. And again, under the assumption that we're operating 2E, both these sites have generators powering them. Operator could be here or here, although in this case, the case of the phone CW site, I don't believe there would be any local operators because Chet is remote and Bill isn't operating. But everyone else would be remote, and so they would be operating from their homes over the internet using, could be a PC, it could be a tablet, whatever you have that's available. You don't require a lot of sophisticated equipment at the operator end. But you do, in order to qualify as Class E, have to be running on emergency power. So here I show that as a battery, although it could be any kind of emergency power, battery generator, whatever. Finally, the logging would happen here on this PC at the digital site. And the logs, the log that's running here, or if you want to run your log locally at your house, you can do that. They're connecting over the internet. So all the log entries, this is the master databases here is what that comes down to. And the current plan would be that most of the PC resources would be accessed using TeamViewer, which is a free download that runs on just about everything, any platform you care to name. So this is what the phone and CW operations might look like. So here you have the Flex 6400, which is acting as the transceiver, and you have a PC here. The only thing the PC is doing is running the logging software. Now, assuming that we're going to operate the way we've done in the past, where you have an operator and a logging assistant, both working together, but not co-located in this case, we're assuming that there's going to be two people at two houses, and they're both using this site. And so the way that would work is that the person who's operating would use the Smart SDR program, which is, again, it's just something you can download, and you log into the radio over the internet, and you can do anything you want to operate the radio. And then there's another program that's part of the Smart SDR suite called DAX, which lets you do digital audio over the internet. And so you would have your PC speaker and microphone or headphones or however you want to operate plugged into your PC or your iPhone or your tablet or whatever that you're using to operate. And when you push the push to talk button on your screen, the radio over here keys up and the right thing happens. Over at the logger end, you've got, again, the person is running DAX. He doesn't need the radio view because he's not operating the radio, he's only listening to the radio. So you fire up a copy of DAX, you connect to the same radio over here as this one, and you hear the same thing that this person is hearing. And we're also assuming here these two guys have got a Zoom session going, and they're talking or collaborating over that, or you could just use your cell phones or whatever to do the same job. And here I'm showing the logger is using the N3FJP logging software. You can just connect to the one over here via TeamViewer and just use it remotely, and you don't have to worry about having the software. You just use it remotely over the net. You could also choose to have your own copy of the software. There's some licensing issues. You have to pay $9 for a license if you want to do that. Oops.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
The logger doesn't have to be on battery, right?
The logger does not have to be on battery. That's correct. So yeah, this is maybe a little misleading. So thank you for pointing that out.
Hey, Paul?
Yes.
So the logger can hear what the operator is saying, as well as hear what the other station is saying in response?
I believe so. I have not actually tried this myself. The backup is that you could hear them over the Zoom connection, but I believe, I keep doing that, sorry. I believe you can hear the transmitted audio as well as the received audio. There is, I have not shown here what to do about CW. For those people who want to operate CW, I know that what Chet does is he basically uses the keyboard to type his CW and then he copies by ear. You can do that. There is a way to hook up a paddle. I'm not sure about a straight key, but I know you can do a paddle to a piece of hardware at your house and locally and remotely connect to the radio. The radio has a way of doing CW, has a protocol for doing CW over the internet. I don't know that anyone is going to want to try that, but if somebody does, we can try to work out the details.
May I comment on that?
I wish you would.
I actually have that in operation here, and I honestly don't like it. The problem is that there's latency in the internet, and it causes the code to sound choppy. So I would recommend that we use the CWX, which is the typing it, using the keyboard to type in the CW. And what happens there is that ASCII goes over the internet, goes to the radio, and the radio makes the dits and the das. And so, and that's, I think that's actually superior. So I would recommend doing that, but unfortunately, probably most of the CW operators prefer to use a keyer or a key. By the way, you can, I have it set up here in my shack. I can use either a keyer or a key, but you have the same latency problem regardless of which one you use.
Right. I mean, I believe there is a way that with the latest stuff that's been done to get a locally generated side tone from your keyer, but or are you saying that the transmitted audio is choppy?
The transmitted audio is choppy because
that doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
So well, I mean, I personally am happy to accept your recommendation. It's the great thing about it is that no additional hardware is required for anybody. It's just a program, right?
Yeah, right. Once you have the smart SDR program, you have everything you need.
Okay. So I guess I'll assume that anybody who wants to operate CW will do it that way. And if there's an issue with that, then we can do some further testing.
Can we poll the other CW operators, Mike and Ken? I'm sure both would like to use CW. What do you guys think of a keyboard?
This is Ken. I don't know how good I'd be at a keyboard, but if you want me to do logging, I'm fine doing that. I can certainly copy the CW and probably log it as long as I'm able to hear it well enough.
A good portion of what you send is actually in memory. You just push a button and it says 2E Delaware or whatever. You do have to type in the call sign, but you can also have DE K3 Foxtrot, so that can be automated too. It gets pretty easy. All you have to do is type in the call sign really and then push a few other buttons.
Yeah, and again, I'm fine doing it either way, and I am a touch typist. That's not the issue. I'm just concerned that I've never done it before, and I just don't know how well it's going to work without having some serious practice time.
This is an issue that I was going to bring up, and I appreciate you mentioning it, Ken, because whatever we do, whether it's phone or CW, the operators need to practice. You need to practice on the radio.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. My assumption has been that if we decide to do something resembling this, or whatever it is we decide to do, we're going to have to do some amount of have some amount of practice sessions, which is why I wanted to put together a design now. Any other?
So I guess you would just have to type the call sign, because I'm sure that there's macro buttons in that software. So like the CQ and the 1A or 2A or 2B, whatever it is, would just be a button push. So
there's 10 or 12 memory locations. You can put in all kinds of things. So yes, there's plenty of buttons to push.
I don't see a problem with it.
Can you set up a Zoom meeting for like next week so we could watch and see how this is done?
Yeah, I mean, that's that'd have to be Chet's schedule.
Generally, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, but you do have a life.
I do other things, but I do have a Zoom account, and you know, we can set up a Zoom meeting, and whoever wants to try out the radio, whether it's CW or sideband, we can do some practice. There are some idiosyncrasies that the Flex radio has that I'm just learning myself, because I've just started using sideband a little more frequently. And one of the things is, if you're using the push button, push to talk on the screen, if you accidentally hit the space bar, it pushes that button. And I didn't realize that. But anyway, all these things are fixable, but you do need some practice.
And I guess you need a microphone too.
If you're going to use voice, yes, you need a microphone.
Yeah, or a headset. I mean, anything, because it's essentially your computer audio, right? So if you had like a USB headset with a microphone, you could use that. Or if
Whatever
you
you're
use
using
your
for
regular,
this meeting works.
Pardon me?
Whatever's being used for this meeting will work.
Yep. But if you want to use your ham radio headset, then it ought to be possible to just plug that into your PC's analog audio ports. Unless you have one of those newfangled iPhones that doesn't have a headphone jack anymore. Okay, is there anything else on this page that we want to talk about, or should we move on?
I had one other comment, and that is, in this situation, I think it might be easier for the operator to log their own stuff, rather than try to communicate and coordinate with the second operator who's doing the logging. It's just a
Making it available as an option.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just assuming it was however people wanted to operate. I know that some people normally do their own logging, and some people like having a logger working with them. So I think whatever works.
Chet, have you ever run your end of the software and Zoom at the same time?
No, but I don't think there would be any. Well, I don't know. Yeah, probably there wouldn't be any problem. The audio is going to go to both programs, I suppose.
Well, that's what I was trying to suppose. So I was kind of jumping ahead. It's like, how do we watch what you're doing? And also there's credits you can get for allowing other people to come view your field day site. So you publish the Zoom meeting, they can come and look, we can let them in. But I'm not sure that Zoom understands that.
Yeah, I think that they're not doing that this year. They're not having credit for having other people come visit your site because they don't want that. There are a number, I didn't go through that. There are a number of little rule changes like that. But on the other hand, I do think it's important to be able to have a sense of a shared experience here.
Paul?
As for the audio, I know that with Zoom, for example, you can select which of your microphones and speakers is attached to Zoom, and I'm pretty sure that DAX lets you do the same thing. So you could have two sets of everything if that were needful. Did somebody else just say something?
Hey, Paul, it's Mike. But when we were having this discussion the other day, I forget who it was. This really only applies to Bill and Chet, but did we get clarification around the rule, since we're using Chet's radio and Bill's antenna for club purposes, they can't use it for personal purposes for field day, correct?
That's correct, but my understanding is that Bill doesn't operate field day, although since he's here, he can correct me if he likes. And the radio is going to be busy for 24 hours anyway, so I don't see operating it that Chet is going to want to operate it under another call sign during that period, but since these people are on the phone, they can correct me.
I would not be using the radio for any other purpose.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
If I'm reading the second stipulation of the rule change, it looks as if I'm interpreting it as everybody can operate their own call from their own house or portable or mobile location, but when they report it, they can report it as a club as well as themselves.
Yeah, I think the way it is a little unclear maybe. The way I read it was that you report it as your own call sign, but you can also list it as that you're a participant in a club, and they add up, so they list you as being doing the field day thing, and then at the same time they total all the people who listed the same club call sign and list that together as a club total. So you get essentially two listings. So it may be that rule is sort of irrelevant at this point.
Can you hear that?
No.
Oh.
I can hear it in my headphones, but you can't hear it?
Nope.
I think that answers that question.
Okay.
I have the radio running, and it's a Hispanic guy speaking. Pretty good signal. Here's another one. Oh, that's also Spanish. Very strong.
The output of the radio would have to be split to the input for Zoom and the output for your headphones, as opposed to just going to the output through your headphones.
Yeah, it's just going to my headphones.
So the logging or counting as the club while operating as yourself, depending on which way you guys determine that, and it sounded like you guys both said the same thing. The one thing you can't do is operate as the club call sign from your house. If you do that, you cannot operate as your own.
Well, I mean, it's a question of the transmitters. What the rule says that you can't operate, if a transmitter is used for field day as a club activity, you can't then later operate that same transmitter under a different call sign, but another family member can operate the same transmitter under a different call sign.
Right.
If I'm remembering that correctly.
But these transmitters would be dedicated, and so you can operate a remote station from your home and then operate your home station separately.
I was referring to the thing that Dave brought up about the ARL adding up the individual entries as a club.
Right. Okay.
I just want.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Paul. No, go.
Anybody else on this topic right now, or shall we move on?
No, I have a question.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be better then, just if, according to the rule change, if we all operated our own radios from home and then just combined everything at the end?
Well, so that's a good question. I mean, as I say, this rule change came out today, so all of this was created before then, and we might decide to do that differently. I think though that it's not, you wouldn't end up being listed in the same or the club wouldn't end up being listed in the same category. We kind of need to figure that out. But certainly one option is we can ignore everything I've just said and just go do stuff from home.
Just seems less complicated.
Well, yes, it is less complicated. It's a different activity. That's all.
This club doesn't do uncomplicated.
Agree.
Right. So, but it would be a case of where the scores would get rolled up into the club, like you see. What's that? The big huge radio club up in Pennsylvania, where they score 1 billion points. You know, it would roll up into a club thing. It wouldn't roll into K3F.
Yes. So, hi, it's Jerry. I have the text up and I've been putting it into the chat. So.
Hi, Jerry.
Hello, briefly back, doing 2 meetings at the same time. And the rules and their explanation here, it even has an example that says, if the Podunk Hollow Radio Club members Becky, W1BXY, and Hiram, W1AW, both participate in 2020 Field Day, Hiram from his Class D home station and Becky from her Class C mobile station both can include the radio club's name when reporting their individual results. The published results listing will include individual scores for Hiram and Becky, plus a combined score for all entries identified as Podunk Hollow Radio Club.
Right, but what class does that get listed at? Or is it just not a class, it's just a separate listing?
It's a separate listing. I don't know that there will be a class since this, I think it's just an, because it says an aggregate number. I don't think there will be a class associated with, since individuals can be different classes.
Right.
There would be no way to judge the number until they solidified all the results.
Right.
Right. I think they're just going to publish the club name and number.
Yeah.
I don't know, and maybe they'll publish a number of logs that were submitted.
Right. So that's a fundamentally different thing from trying to operate remotely as a 2E or a 2D for that matter.
But you could.
Sounds like we could do both.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too, is actually the paragraph that says any class. So actually we could run a K3F club station with one of the flexes, so the people that don't have antennas or would like to use that radio could use it. Exactly. Then the rest of us could operate from home and then combine the score with the club call.
Yeah.
Or you could run both of the stations as K3F, and everyone else would use their own.
Right. The only thing
I
is
think the aggregate would be separate.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that you couldn't claim the same contact. You couldn't contact the same station again if you operated and made a contact from the club station. You couldn't go back and make that same contact from the club station.
I don't think that aggregate aggregate's not going to count for anything. It's not a category. It's not a
right.
Well, first of all, we have to start with the fact that Field Day is not a contest. It's an operating event. So if you talk about counting or not counting, it will count and it will be published. They will probably publish the number of logs and the grand total. So, and you can consider the number of logs equal to the number of radios operated. Typically, that's what it is. I think the question is, can you operate as the club itself, K3F? Is that included as well? And that's not clear in the rules.
I would think it would remain separate because that would have a class associated with it.
And a call sign.
Right, but in an odd twist, can you submit it in its own class and call sign, and then also add it to the aggregate?
Well, we could submit it both ways and see what happens.
Yeah, let them figure it out.
Yeah, we won't be the only people doing that.
Or I can call the ARRL.
Yep.
All right. Any other comments right now, or?
I also echo the idea that even if we have a number of members who want to operate from their homes, I think we have members who maybe would like to use a station like this. First of all, it's a great transceiver, and the antenna should be pretty good, and it may be better. You know, some of us have compromised antennas because we're you know, where we live, and so it might be nice to give members like that an opportunity to work a better station, use a better station, and they might get more enjoyment out of it.
That was also my thinking, yes. Okay.
I guess the question is, do we need two digital stations? Do we need two remote stations or just one now?
Yeah.
Well, for those of us who mostly like to do digital stuff, I think that that Dave's comment applies.
So I guess it's complicated to move back and forth between, say, phone and digital with one station?
No, it's not. But
Change the class.
it's half as many transmitters.
Ah. Well, yes, but it's also half as much work.
Well, yeah, by some sense, yes, that's true.
It changes our class again back down to 1.
1A, yeah. Or 1E rather. Or 1D.
You can be whatever class you want.
I'm first class.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let me go through the rest of this and then we can continue the discussion.
Please.
So I've said most of this already. Control the radio using SmartLink. And you know, we use the PC audio. We talked about the CW and remote logging or using a local logging. In either case, the N3FJP loggers, if you have multiple of them, you can connect them all up to talk to each other, even over the internet, and there'll just be one log at the end. The digital site is similar, but a lot simpler in some sense to operate. What we would do is we would set up all of the software. We had a long discussion about this because you can, in fact, run FT8 remotely and talk to the radio over the internet. We came to the conclusion that that was not a great thing to do, particularly with the latest version of FT8, which is much less latency tolerant than the previous one, in order to get the best possible signal to noise for the decodes. Your latency should not exceed 0.2 of a second. So it's a lot easier and simpler for most people to use if we just set up everything on the PC here at the digital site. We have the radio going right over the LAN. We have the logger, we have the FT8, we have the JT Alert, and it's all set up and you don't have to do anything to make it work. All you do at home is connect via TeamViewer to this PC. You get all the applications showing up in a window, and the only thing you have to do in terms of logging is at the beginning of the session, you have to put in your call sign in the operator field. And then after that, you just click on things in FT8 and it just works. You can also run Smart SDR and connect to the radio if you want to if you want to see what it's doing, check the AGC or whatever, or change the power levels. But it isn't absolutely necessary to do that because most of that can be done through the FT8 controls. In theory, you could just fire up TeamViewer on your phone and connect to this and do FT8 until you're sick of it. So does that all make sense to everyone? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry?
Good.
Yes.
Good.
Okay, so I just have a couple screenshots of people who haven't seen it. This is what Smart SDR looks like when you run it under Windows. All the usual radio controls, waterfall, and all the usual stuff. But clearly anyone who's never used this will want to practice with it before field day. On the iPhone, it's actually very similar looking. It's just smaller. And the same client that runs on the iPhone runs on the iPad as well. It's a little bigger. There is a client that runs under Mac OS X, but it's not one of the official Flex Radio ones. It's made by a third party and they charge $95 for it. So, but if you have to have it on a Macintosh, you can. So finally, I just want to go over the emergency power rules again. So again, for Class E, you have to have emergency power for any transmitting or receiving equipment, including computers that control or operate the radio. Emergency power is generators, solar panels, batteries, anything that's not a wall socket. But if you're using something like a battery, you have to either charge the battery before field day, or you have to charge it from another emergency power source. Now, given that the rules have been changed such that there is no restriction on what credit you get from a Class D station, we might decide that trying to do emergency power is not worth the effort. The only thing is you'll be in a different category. Then Class D will be, the 2D stations will be a separate category from the 2E stations. At the radio sites, if you're going to do emergency power, you want to probably be a little bit more robust. This isn't how you have to do it, but this is an example of how you could do it. You have a generator feeding your station power supply and anything else that you need to have on the generator. You have a backup battery that you can automatically fail over to, and you have a device such as this one. This happens to be the one that I have. Also, I think Frank has one of these. That does automatic failover, and when the generator is running, it's charging the battery. When the generator is having its fuel refilled, then you're running off the battery, and the equipment sees no interruption of power. So that's all we have here for this. There's some, I'm not going to go into, there's some additional stuff here having to do with other ways to do it, but I don't think that's relevant. So I'm just going to, unless anybody wants to see any of these slides again. I heard something. What was that?
So Paul, this is Foster. Could you go back to the digital station one again?
Yes.
So in theory, all of that software could run at the digital station, and all I have to do is run TeamViewer from here to be able to run it. Is that right?
That's it.
On battery.
Right.
My laptop.
Paul, I have a question. This is Ken.
The laptop needs to be on battery, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but you can't charge it from your house once the battery dies.
That's fine. I have a generator. I can keep it running.
Okay.
I think that was my question. You're running the computer from home to control one of these radios. That computer has to be on emergency power?
If you want to qualify for Class E, yes.
Okay.
But the internet connection, so the wireless router and all the other nonsense in the house, that can be on power.
Correct.
Okay.
So yeah,
I'd like to make a proposal. Based on, unfortunately, what I'm going to propose is putting all your good work to no use. But because of the rule change, and because D stations now can operate and talk to D stations, which means that there's really no difference between a D or an E station, except the category that you happen to be in. I'd like to see us run without emergency power. That's number one. And number two, I'm still offering my radio for people who want to use it, but what I would do is put together the list of operators and times like we've done before, and W3ASW Mike can operate his station at home. Chet can work his station the way he usually works his station. Ken can either use his station at home or use the remote station. You just play it with two transmitters on a schedule. I'm sorry?
I agree. I think we just dropped the emergency power. It's too hard to regulate to make sure that every remote person is using emergency power. Just forget it.
It's much more simple to do it this way. But the other idea is that you would only have two transmitters going at one time. So for the digital station, you could use the Flex if you wanted to. You could set up the Flex station for remote operation if you'd like. But Jerry could use his home station for the time that he operates. And other people have, I think actually we're going to use FT4, aren't we, during field day?
Yes.
Yeah, it's really FT4. But whoever operates FT4, if they have a time slot, they can use their own station. They can use Kilo 3 Foxtrot as the call sign. We would only have two transmitters on at one time. We would operate 2D and not worry about the emergency power and not worry about everybody trying to run remote.
So that was actually another architecture that we had proposed that I had worked out. I mean, it's what I called the virtual 2E or virtual 2D in this case, where you hang on, one of my dogs has come in here and is being a problem. So where you would just everybody would operate from home, and you have just two people doing it, and the advantages of that to some extent are it's technically simpler. The disadvantages are that well, first of all, you run afoul of the problem of using the same transmitter under two different call signs if you then want to operate field day from home, not using the club call sign. And well, I guess that's really the major disadvantage. Well, the other disadvantage is, of course, you don't have, as Dave was saying, the ability for people to use a better station or a better antenna than the one they have at home.
Well, if you still have the remote station, you still got that option. But just of the folks that happen to be here on the Zoom meeting, is there anybody who would operate K3F for field day and then go home and use their own station to operate field day?
Yes.
So Mike, you would?
Yep.
I try every year.
You could use the remote station for K3F and then use your home station for your own operation.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. I guess I'd have to let someone else use the remote digital station on occasion. So yeah, I'd operate from home too.
Hey guys, I think Mike W3ASW is stuck in a waiting room. He just sent a message out on on the email asking if somebody could let him back in.
I let him in.
Oh, why'd you go and do that?
It's field day chairman.
Paul, just a quick question. This is Ken again. So, so I would need N3FJP logger, or would you be able to, if I'm operating from home, which is the way I'm leaning right now, just operating my station from home and then submitting a log to be aggregated, I guess. Would I need F3FJP or N3FJP,
No.
or can I use
You
N3
use
or
whatever.
MM?
No,
Okay,
you just
well-
have to designate the club name that you belong to when you submit your
Yeah.
log.
Yeah, you can do your own logging and submit your own log. Or you could get a copy of N3FJP for $9 and do join the fun. Or you could operate, if no one else is doing it, you could operate one of the remote N3FJP loggers using TeamViewer. So there's 3 possibilities. But if you want to just like write it down on paper and marry it up later, you can in fact do that.
Okay.
All right. So I think to sum this up, Paul, and this is just for clarification for everybody, I think we're still looking at the remote 2E without generator.
It would be 2D.
Right, and without generator would be 2D.
Mm-hmm.
And then if people choose to do so, they can include the club call sign with their own submission if they want. Obviously, as a club, we're not going to ask, we're not going to force anybody to do that. But the software you use for your own logging is your choice. There's some recommendations on our site for the QSO party. I think they also do field day, but use whatever you like. Is that right?
Yeah, Jerry, do we use N3FJP for the Delaware QSO party?
I don't recall if it's listed there or not, but it is what we typically use for field day, and it was one I would recommend. $9, this is not a steep hill to climb. And I find N3FJP software works especially for field day really well.
Yeah, it doesn't work for the QSO party,
Right,
but
that's
it
what I
works really
thought.
good for field day.
Yeah.
It's keep it simple. It's hard to make mistakes, and it also has ADIF import and export. So if you used it at home, then whoever's doing the log, Mike, can just import the contacts, and then it will search for dupes.
And Scott
And
just
if you-
announced today, that he made changes. He's got a different version of Field Day software out just for this year. He just made that available. I'll make a formal announcement tomorrow.
Dave, do you know what the differences are?
He says it allows a Delta station to contact a Delta station.
Okay,
It was the biggest thing he said.
all right.
And also, if you use a N3FJP logging for field day at home using your own call sign, and you normally use another logging program, you can fairly easily export from N3FJP and import into most other logging programs.
So as I understand this proposal, then I would keep my own, if I operated 2 hours, I'd keep my own score for 2 hours, and then I would export that to Mike, and he would put it all together into a club.
No.
No, if you're going to operate, because you're going to be operating the same radio station, right? So you can use the same logger. I mean, it's, in fact, even if you have your own logger at home, if you're using the N3FJP software, you could simply connect it over the internet to the main one, and then you don't have to do it later. It'll just get joined up in real time.
That would be ideal.
Well, ideally, if you're using the club call sign and operating the remote stations using the club call sign, which is I presume what we'd be doing, you really want to use the logger that's remote if possible. That makes it the easiest way. Nothing else is necessary.
Yeah.
You could use the same logging software locally and have it connect over the internet, or you could use the same logging program locally as K3F, and after the fact, you could merge them. There's a merge process, but I mean, there's 20, 25 people on this call. That would be a pretty onerous job if everybody did that.
Yeah, I think if you are going to have your own copy of N3FJP and you're operating as K3F, then you should connect to the server. I mean, it's basically a question of a couple of clicks and typing in an IP address. So it's not a huge burden to do that. And then it means that everyone can see what you're doing in real time.
So you get immediate duping as well, right?
That's right.
Thanks for letting me back in.
I'll
I think we
spend
should
$9.
stick to just the software that's running on the remote PC and keep that as the club logger.
Yeah, well, there's going to be two of those anyway, right? If we're going to have two sites.
Yep.
So they're going to be connected over the internet. That's the
We just need to be
simplest
careful.
thing. Sorry?
If you're we just need to be careful. If someone's using that software at home
Yeah.
separately to try and log as the club while they're using the remote station, they have to remember to undo everything when they switch to their own call and their own radio.
True. I mean, I think that the simplest thing would be that if you're using the club site, you should just use the club
Agreed.
the logger remotely. It's just simpler. There's no licensing issues. There's no configuration. The only thing you have to do is put in your operator call sign at the beginning of your
Right, and for the digital station, that's exactly the only thing you'd have to do, because all the logging is automatic out of WSJTX into the logging program. So you don't have to physically log anything. You just have to change the operator information. And yeah.
So could everybody be logged in to the remote logger? Everybody?
Well,
You don't need
TeamViewer
to.
only lets one person run the PC at once. If you have your own copy of N3FJP at home, you can connect it to the one running remotely and, play along.
But we're not going to have more than one person operating at the same time unless you're planning to use multiple flex slices.
Yeah,
So-
which doesn't, I mean, you can
So
only,
I don't think
only
that
have one
works.
transmitter, so.
Right, so if it works, if there's only one person at a time using it, then there'll only be one person at a time needing to operate the logger.
Yes, but if somebody else wants to watch the log, one of the things at the at the field day site last year, we had a third laptop running the logger, so you could go in there apart from where people were operating and kind of watch the log entries appear, see what was going on. But so you could do that too if you wanted to do that. But I think that for the purposes of most people's operation, we would just have the two running on the two stations, and you would just use those remotely. And then you don't have to have any special software or any special setups at home to make it work.
I guess the highlight of field day this year is we can drink beer from home.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether the club is going to arrange to drop ship hot dogs to everyone.
I think I'm going to need a beer after this meeting. So.
You need a cup of coffee.
The really interesting thing is that Rich is going to operate the remote station from Maryland.
Yeah.
We can designate a time for all of us to join the Zoom with our favorite hot dog and dressings.
If I have a 400-foot, actually about a 500-foot Cat 5 cable, I can walk down through the woods and step across the state line.
There you go.
Yeah, well, of course, it's technically you're limited to the 100 meters of cable, although we all know it works in full duplex. You can go further than that.
The only thing I got to ask you guys, I'm kind of confused. I'm not confused. We're only allowed to have 2 operators working once under these new rules, or it's a free-for-all?
Well, to the extent that we have a station that's operating as 2D or 2E, 2D, I guess, we can only have 2 people operating at once. If somebody else goes on the air as K3F, then we would be 3D instead of 2D.
Gotcha. So in other words, we have to create a roster and ensure time slots for folks to be using the call sign time slots.
But
Right.
on the other hand, if you decide to operate at home on your own call sign and list that, you know, K3F as the club that you want to be aggregated with, I don't think that changes. I mean, we're still 2E even if there's 6 people doing that.
And I think we need to have someone decide what the quote unquote name of the club is. And we're just going to call it First Aid Amateur Radio Club, so that we all put in the same name when we send in our.
Right.
It's done by name and not by call sign?
It says it's in the documentation. It says name, but who knows?
All right.
Yeah, that's the key thing, right, Jerry? Because you have to normalize. We have to normalize the data so that we're all putting in the same, so it doesn't get lost. Some of the data doesn't get lost.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
Yes. Yeah, that's key. That's very, very important point.
Okay.
Yes, it does say the same club name. And if you look at the listings, they're all by club names. They're not by call signs. And I'm looking at the same dilemma. I just last night sent out an email for the guys that usually work at the Claymont Elementary, or this last year Lancashire. And is it worth all this aggravation for a 1-year deal?
Nice exercise.
Yeah, it's a nice exercise. Is it, you know, how, I don't know, how just how confusing is it getting to be, and who's going to end up doing what, and we all just end up on a sheet of paper in a magazine.
As long as we don't take it too seriously, make sure you're having fun, that we're learning new things. Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth it.
Heck, we could have another round of COVID next year.
Or the same one.
The same one.
Bite your tongue.
This hasn't ended yet.
Yeah, we could have the same round of COVID.
I think, just as an aside, I think it's a good stretch goal. We had stretch goals last year of going, you know, 2 stations, and I think this is a good stretch goal to go this year to sort of set this up. I mean, we're all smart guys. We should be able to figure this out and make it happen. Smart operator, sorry.
Well,
I was going to say my IQ just went up a couple 100 points.
yeah, speak for yourself.
And for the guests on the phone, if you're still attending the meeting, you do not have to be a member of the club to get onto the schedule.
I was able to participate in field day a couple of times, once at the Claymont Elementary School, and then last year when they moved it up off of Damon's Road. And the software that they were using to document everything it was monitored on one computer, but there were several stations and you just logged in on your different frequencies, depending on what radio you were on. So, and they were all using the same call sign for the club that they were affiliated with. Is that the same software you're using?
Probably.
Okay.
There's a few of them out there that work that way. But
Yeah.
this one's the most popular one.
Yeah, I think it was the same. I think it was the same one. So you had 4 different radios doing 4 different frequencies, and everything was being documented all at the same time.
Right.
It made it,
Yes, in a shared database. And like here,
Yeah.
if we have someone operating CW on one and digital on another, it'll all the data, logging data, get collected in a central database as well as a local database.
There we go.
Yeah, we were
Thank you,
using
Paul.
N3FJP, and John, N3LUD. He's got a bunch of notebooks all networked together. So it works beautifully right at the site, and that's what she's talking about.
Yep.
Right, and that's what that's what we did last year. That's what we're talking about doing again this year. It's just that there is a way to run that software so that you can do that sharing over the internet. It doesn't have to be just in a local area. Basically, just connect directly to another instance of it rather than using a broadcast on the local network. But it's all the same. It happens in real time. You can see all the log entries that everybody is creating as they create them. It does the dupes in real time. It's pretty nice, actually.
So, Alan?
Yeah, Scott has been talking about that on the FJP website, or the Reflector. And he says it can be done. He's not providing the information on how to do it yet. I don't think he did. He said his son figured out how to do it, and everybody, there's been a lot of guys talking about doing it that way.
So, Alan?
Yes, sir.
So I dropped off, and I got to drop off again. I got an emergency here. So I will get with Paul or you and figure out what we need from the chairman.
Yeah, and I would strongly suggest, I know a lot of people are burnt right now because there's a lot that went on here tonight. I think we need to, I think we have to follow up with an instruction set. We're going to have to document this so that everybody has all the instructions. Like we just talked about, normalizing how we're putting things in the log books so everything's because again, we're not going to be working together. We're going to be working separately, so we're going to require some kind of help guide. Let's put it in those terms for this event. So I'm strongly suggesting, Mike, that somebody on your team put together, a quick help guide, a step-by-step walking through all of this, so that we all can, anybody, we'll just say down to the layman here, right? You understand, down to the layman, because we got some experienced users and non-experienced users, and this is a whole new area with remote, well, it's not really remote, but you know what I'm saying. I think the logging, I don't want us to screw up the logging. Let's put it that way. I know you folks agree with me on this, but I think we need some help guide.
Okay.
And I think that would be great. And then this is actually interesting how this is all going to play out, right?
Very much so.
So.
All right. I will see you guys later. I got to run.
Bye, Mike.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Bye.
All right, Mike F. I guess we could adjourn at this point. I mean, anything else you want to talk about?
The answer is yes.
Excuse me?
Their answer is yes.
Yeah, it's not.
What we need at this point is an operating schedule with names and the station that you plan to use.
Right.
If the station is the remote station, we need to offline train for that.
We only need the schedule for each of the 2 remote stations. We don't need a schedule for anything else.
So let me walk you through a case example for myself. Let's say I'm going to use my station. I'll probably more likely do digital, right? I'll probably maybe log 3 hours here, let's just say at my home. I would love to be able to use the remote station, try that antenna out. All right, that's possible under this configuration, correct?
Yes,
That would be very neat.
as the club call.
As the club call, that would be really neat.
No
But you would
different
use the
than
club
driving.
call
it.
at home too, right?
You cannot use the club call at home.
At home, okay, got it.
You cannot use the club call at home. You can associate your contacts with the club for the aggregate, but you cannot use the club call at home with your equipment.
Why not?
It's not allowed. You can't switch back and forth using the same equipment and the same operator between the club and your own call.
Aha.
But if I wanted to operate under the club call and not at all under my own call, is that
We're not. I don't think we're entertaining that as an option.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was implying by the way, Mike.
That I think we touched on this briefly. Paul pointed out it gets too complicated with the logs. If you want to operate under the club call sign, operate one of the two remote stations.
Okay. All right. I mean, cool. No problem. I mean, the idea though is that we have to create a roster for the remote station.
Just like we do every year.
Okay. Okay. That's cool.
One for each station, just like last year.
So I'm game to work the digital station as many hours as there's no one.
Hey, listen, Jerry, I know Jerry.
I'm fighting you for time, Jerry.
I just wanted to remind you that I'm in. So, but I don't want to be a digital hog. So I'll let everyone else pick their spot first, and I'll come in at the end and pick up all the empty spots.
All right, fair enough. And the cool thing about that is you can do it from your home. So you know, I mean, you can literally, like in my case, I walk down in the basement and run from my computer.
I could have two windows running, one running my own station and call, and running the club station at the same time.
That's what I plan on doing.
Oh, you guys are cracking me up, man. Okay.
So we're gonna take shifts. Is that what we're gonna do, Jerry?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So there'll be last year I worked, I think of the 36 hours, I probably worked about 30 or 32 of them on the
Yeah,
digital.
I know, because I was sitting at 2 o'clock in the morning going,
Yes.
Jerry's going to own this thing.
And I don't want to be the digital hog, as I said. So someone should circulate or put a Google spreadsheet up to share that people can sign up for shifts.
Yeah, we'll talk to Mike about that, being the field day chairman.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to be dense about this, but the shifts are strictly for the ones using the remote station. Is that right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
That is the only time you can use the club call sign is if you're using one of the two remote stations.
That's K3F, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Can we get is there any last thing before we do a motion here to adjourn this meeting tonight?
No.
I'll make a motion. We adjourn.
I second.
All right. Meeting is
All in
adjourned.
favor?
Favor?
All right. Paul, thank you, Paul.
Great job, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Paul.
I'm glad that worked out.
You're lost for words, Paul.
Yeah, thank you.
Alan.
Everyone.
Rich, when you leave the meeting, end it for everyone, please. Or Zoom will still think my meeting is running.
Yeah, and whoever gets the recording, I guess Jerry can get me
I
the
have-
participant list.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll share the recording with you like I did
Awesome.
before.
Thank you, sir. Bye, everybody.
All right.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.
Frank, are you going to be around tomorrow? Wave if you are.
What, you want to go tomorrow?
No, what I want to do is drop off some lids to you.
I'll be around tomorrow. Yes.
Okay.
See you, Bill. Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night, Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Great presentation.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.